let's start off by saying RIP to my FIMI Palm 1. This poor thing, the gimbal head has become separated, and now when you try to power it on, even if you try to fix it a little bit, it will not spin around and it gets stuck right there. I've already reset it, so it says that. And it says self-inspection. So, this poor thing. I had the bright idea of putting it on my RC car to get some super stable footage, and because the center of gravity was so high, it flipped over when I hit a rock. And I was able to remedy the problem for a little while with by using the gimbal setting in the phone app, and it worked okay, but you know, with enough packing and unpacking, this thing just started to slowly come apart. So enter the FIMI Palm 2, which we are holding right now. FIMI Palm 2. Shooting in 4K right now. Subject lost, there we are. Shooting in 4K, 30 frames is the maximum setting. Just like the last video, but now with a newer camera. So, a couple things about the FIMI Palm 2. It's a little bit thicker, it's heavier because the battery's bigger. It has a built-in microphone jack, and the tripod mount is now on the bottom. Aside from that, everything seems to be pretty much the same. The EV shift, I notice, seems to be much more effective. So in dark situations, you can shift the EV up and it'll significantly improve the picture quality in low light. But we'll test that some other time. Until then, here's a comparable test to what I did last time with the FIMI Palm 1. The buttons are a lot quieter, they're softer. There's also the tap-tap capacitive touch button at the top of the screen to switch to selfie mode, or you can also use the power button like the previous model, 1, 2, 3 to flip, and then tap to make it level. So if I go down here and I go tap, or no, if I long press, it'll make it, it'll level it, right? And then if I start going like that, it'll level it. So level it again, hold it, long hold, and level. So FIMI Palm 2 comes with a nice case. There have been kind of mixed reviews about it, but I actually kind of like it compared to this little gimbal head cover that used to come with the original one, which only covered the top and it could still move around a lot like this, which is probably why I'm going to lay it down because I feel like I'm going to knock it over. Used to cover the gimbal head. Let me do a simulation here for you guys. Just like that. Place the lens inside. So it was great for covering the lens, but not so much for really keeping it in place. This will actually fit. In fact, I'll show you. So you'll see that the dimensions are actually about the same. So if I were to remove the base on this, here it is. I have it taped here because I didn't want it coming off really easily. So you had to add this base in order to have 3.5mm audio jacks for your microphone. And you could also charge it standing up, which was nice. Unfortunately not the case with the FIMI Palm 2 because the charging port is on the bottom. But the FIMI Palm 2 fits in this case very nicely. And the dimensions, the FIMI Palm 1 is a little bit thinner. And it's lighter because the battery is smaller. The 2 really fills these gaps here really nicely. But the height, it's maybe just a little bit taller. You can see there's a slight gap there. And, but yeah. Still a great camera, the FIMI Palm 1. You know, these gimbal cameras, they're in their early stages still, so they're not quite as rugged as some would like them to be. I'm sure at some point they'll start making them waterproof for some real action. That'll be interesting when the motors are waterproof. Sadly, also, this base is not compatible with the FIMI Palm 2 because it's too fat. But I'm sure if you kind of cut this part off right here, if you shaved this whole lip off, you could probably get it to fit on the FIMI Palm 2. But again, I put this tape on here so that it would stay secure to the camera. But anyway, let's continue here. You guys remember the backyard from last video? It's a little bit before 6 o'clock. What's today? It is September 20th. So you can see the picture quality is pretty similar to the way it was with the original. Let's get some of that sky view. Picks up the trees really nicely. Just going real slow here. Alright, this is the real test is when we start walking around. You see how smooth it is. It should be pretty much the same as it was before. Trees look nice. Sky looks nice. The color balancing has always been really good, especially during the daytime. Nice and smooth still, as I'm sure you can tell. I have it in follow mode, so if I tilt the camera up and down, it will follow. The previous video I had it, for the FIMI Palm 1, I had it in pitch lock. So even if you tilt the camera up and down, it would still stay at level. You can see the grass is substantially browner around this time of year. The last video was April 2020, and it's now September the following year. So again, if you were to go on a walk around on some unstable ground, let's see if I can slip like last time. Now I'll be extra careful. Oh. So nice and stable as is expected. Looks like a cat has been digging up my plastic here. I have to redo all of this, I guess. But again, the grass is much grayer than the last video, and these guys are still poking through. But it's been quite dry, so the last time this tree was a little bit greener, and now it's kind of dead from the drought. And there was grass there last time for me to do a test. Do another zoom test. So to change to zoom mode, there's a little 4 arrow thing at the top of the top right of the screen. You tap that, it'll change the mode of the stick for zooming in and out. So let me zoom all the way in here. Oh, didn't switch it. Tap, okay, there you go. A little icon shows up with a circle inside of the arrows, and now you can zoom. So that's zoomed in all the way 3 times. That's digital zoom. I'd say from the videos I've seen, it actually looks pretty good. I remember it pixelating quite a bit in 4K when zoomed in all the way, but that looks pretty good. Let's look up at the tree here. Let's zoom in on the top of the tree. There you go. So if you can see the details in the tree or not, go ahead, let me know in the comments. I'll probably have something to say after I upload this video too. But again, there's the tree. Again, I've always been impressed with the daytime quality of this camera, the FIMI Palm 1. The Palm 2, as I said, the EV shift. In fact, let me see if I can do the EV shift right now. So, relatively, let me get a dark situation here. Okay, this is kind of dark here, so I think I can do EV now. Oh, I think I can only shift the EV when I'm not filming, apparently. Well, I'll try that later. So right now it's still 0 EV. But again, during the day, quality is pretty good. There's the sky. Nice and smooth video. There you go, the same way the gimbal usually follows. It's always been like that. All the settings are at default. I do have HDR turned on. The picture mode is normal. There's also, what is that? F mode. And there's also a bright mode if you want to make your camera look more like a DJI, I guess. But, you know, a lot of the great things about this camera is that it has a really wide angle lens. Let's try and zoom in on that tree up there, see if it can adjust the exposure. That seemed like it did it pretty good on this tiny little screen. The face tracking seems to be on point as it always was. You know, I go over here, nose. Yep. The face tracking has always been a strong point of this camera, and I'm not sure if it can do object tracking. That was, it says, it kind of implies that there's object tracking, but I think it only tracks face-shaped objects. So, say what you will about that. But for vlogging and just selfie mode, you know, this is a really great camera. I've never had any complaints about how well it works. And you can hold it really close to you. You don't have to hold it like super far out because it has a wide angle and you can see yourself in the screen. Versus like the DJI Pocket 2 that has a much tighter field of view, so you really have to hold it far out in order to see yourself. And you know, this is me at arm's length right now, and that looks pretty good, right? Face tracking, doing a great job. Keeping me in the frame. Now let's flip it back around. So when you switch it to selfie mode, it automatically turns on face tracking, and when you switch it back, it turns it off. Of course, I think you can turn it on manually if you tap the screen. Yep, you double tap the screen, it'll automatically start looking for faces. So that's one thing to kind of look out for if you're walking around with the camera and you accidentally turn on face tracking. It's going to start following the next face that you see. I've had a couple of time-lapse videos that were kind of funky, looking at people's faces as I was walking around in time-lapse mode. There's a great way to take hyperlapse videos, this camera. Let's try and zoom in on those trees up there. Bright. It's not correcting for the exposure until I get right about here. And I think that's just because of the average picture right there. Sounds pretty good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. I had a 2-year square trade warranty for my other camera, and like honestly, I started having issues with it because I dropped it within just a few weeks of having the first one. But it survived up until now, and it's been, what, a year and a half now? Almost a year and a half. And it just finally, the gimbal motor finally gave up, so I was like, alright, I'm going to claim my warranty, and they're going to send me a check because they can't fix it. So they're going to send me a check after I send it in. Pretty much for the exact value that I paid for it, and I'm going to use that money to pay back for this camera. So I already paid for this camera. And I'm going to use the money from the return on the first one. And it's basically like I had a FIMI Palm 1-year rental for $20, and I was able to get a new one after a year and a half. And I think probably in December, this one just came out last December, so I can imagine FIMI Palm 2 or FIMI Palm 3 might come out in December 2021, but we'll see. So, again, pretty nice and steady here walking around. I'm not really kind of thinking about holding the camera steady, I'm just holding it and walking. Just like last time, it's a pretty good way of testing how steady the camera is without thinking about it. And again, this is the internal microphone, so it looks like they moved the microphones. There's one at the bottom facing you on the screen side, and there's also one on the right side about screen level. And you know, the audio has actually been pretty good. But one thing I did with the FIMI Palm was I connected this little Edutidge ETM-001 microphone. This is a TRS connector. So the nice thing about this one, the FIMI Palm 2, is that it has a built-in microphone connector, so you don't have to buy that extra base, which I did to test out. So actually, let's try plugging it in right now. Let's see if there's a difference in audio quality. So the microphone jack is right here under the gimbal, which is pretty much tripod connector used to be on the FIMI Palm 1, but of course now the tripod mount is on the bottom of the camera. So let's connect this here. Connected. And if you guys can hear a difference in the sound quality, the microphone is of course facing away from me, but it's supposed to be omnidirectional. And when I was using it with the FIMI Palm 1, it was really great microphone because you don't have to wear it, it's on the camera, and the only thing is you always have to unplug it and plug it in when you're about to use it. Otherwise the camera will default to the internal microphones. So let's try and go down again. Maybe you'll hear a difference in what the leaves sound like as I'm crunching through here. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And what do you think? Does my voice come through clearer? Can you hear more of the environmental sound? There we go, nice and steady here, coming down. Now let's go through here. Let's test some of that low light. So it's pretty bright out here, and it's pretty dark in there. But let's see if we walk through here how the low light performance is. So imagine you're going on a hike with your buddies and you're going through the forest. And you gotta work your way through some trees. Again, I'm just kind of holding the camera, not thinking of where I'm pointing it, making sure it doesn't get hit by the trees. I think there's a way out there, so I gotta go this way. And I've got a bunch of leaves in my Crocs, but it's okay. Still more, but it's okay. Let's take it out. There you go. This poor tree's all dried out. But yeah, again, just a great camera where you just hold it, you don't really think about it, you just point it in the general direction. Especially if you have it on pitch lock mode, you really don't even have to worry about how you tilt the camera up and down because it'll stay level. And when I take time-lapse videos, I usually set it to pitch lock and I mount it to my chest and I walk around, and everything, you can see like the elevation changes as you're walking around when you're hiking, which is really cool. And I have the screen to turn off, set to turn off after 5 minutes of not being touched, so the screen just turned off. You push the button to reactivate the screen and unlock it by swiping to the right. Look at that, that looks really nice. So it handles differences in exposure really well. Like when you're looking down here versus when you start looking up at the sky, you can see more of the blue color come in as you aim higher towards the sky. I think last time I did, hold on, let me switch the, there you go. So, tilt it up, walk around like this. Oop. So camera's facing straight up right now. Let me spin around, come back. I'll just tilt it down. The joystick is way better, smoother, quieter. The recording button's also a lot smoother. It doesn't have like a click click sound, it has more of a thoop, but I bet you can barely hear it. And I'm sure that's part of why the microphones were repositioned like towards the side and towards the bottom, so they could be away from the gimbal motor and away from, I mean, even the power button's a lot quieter now too, so that's really great. So yeah, you can imagine if this is a camera that you want to take hiking with you, capture a lot of really great footage. Wide angle footage, really smooth. Just looking around at stuff. I know I've got that pipe going down here to try and feed this thing more water because it's super dehydrated. These two are doing okay though, still green. Alright, let's go back up. So again, guys, this is the external mic being added. Make the sound better? I think it does. I think it would. The microphone setting sensitivity is still on normal, because there's like a high setting, or high, I think I have it, and then there's a low, and then there's off. And I'm pretty sure the default is high. Step. Remember last time we showed you guys these red trees? It was more sunlight though last time. It's a little bit later in the day. Oh, here, we can try and zoom in on that part right there. See how that looks. So again, I'm not making a huge effort to walk smoothly or anything. I'm just walking and pointing, seeing how it comes out. You know, these gimbal cameras always do a really good job at stabilizing walking motion. So if you're like walking past a tree, really easy to keep it in the center of the frame without jostling around too much. Let me aim at the upper part and walk past. Alright, max zoom, 3 zoom. How does that look? Pretty smooth. Yes. So again, pretty happy with the camera. Like literally just came in the mail today, opened it up. Just want to do some comparison shots. You guys know what the FIMI Palm 1 looks like. Again, this is 4K 30. I found that most of the time I film in just 1080-30 because, you know, you go on enough adventures and you don't need a whole bunch of 4K footage sitting on your camera or on your hard drive. It takes up way too much room and also takes up battery a lot faster. So if you just shoot at 1080-30, it's more than adequate for capturing your day-to-day, and I mean 1080p is still plenty adequate in terms of picture quality. You know, as far as I'm concerned, 1080p HD is here to stay and here to stay for a long time because, I mean, 4K, it's very taxing in terms of bandwidth and storage. And, I mean, yeah, the picture's a little bit sharper, I mean, quite a bit sharper, but 1080 is more than adequate for most purposes. And let's see how much video we shot here. 24 minutes of, almost 24 minutes of video here. I think I've got, this thing is 119 gigabytes when it's empty. 128 gig card is 119 gigs when it's empty on this camera. So now, let me actually zoom over there and see how that looks. It's pretty bright. I'm trying to aim at the sky and then aim down. There's an exposure trick for you. Aim at something bright and then use that to control the exposure. But yeah, 1080p. So this thing, the thing is reading 110.5 gigabytes left. So just in shooting for 25 minutes, I've already used up probably 8, almost 9 gigabytes. I have a couple other videos on here too that I shot while testing. So just to give you an idea of how much room for how much time the video will take up. Alright, well, I plan to make a couple more videos like this. If you guys have any requests onto things that I might want to test out, it's definitely something I'll take into consideration if I've got the time to make videos. Always fun to show off products like this. This camera's been out for about, 9 months now. It came out in December of 2020, and they're always updating it. And as far as I know, this thing has the most updated firmware, because when I connected it to the FIMI Palm app, it didn't say anything on my phone. Usually if there's an update, it says something. But that's something I'll definitely check on when I go back inside. So let's walk back up. Oh. Trees. Let's go selfie mode. Again, did you guys hear that button? I didn't. The other one, it would go top, top, top. You could definitely hear the button being pressed. Back around. There you go. Alright guys, and that's it. Thanks for watching my video about the FIMI Palm 2. Have a great day. Oh, I didn't press it? Well, I guess I should say RIP to FIMI Palm 1. You served me well. Good luck on your next adventure. Hopefully they can fix you and pass you on to the next person. If not, thanks for the memories.